Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Louise Huber begins now.
Good evening, everyone. First tonight, 1,500 seasonal workers bound for Victoria will quarantine in Tasmania under a new deal struck between the state governments. The landmark agreement will see Victoria instead take Tasmania's share of repatriation flights, aiming to ease community anxiety over high-risk travellers.
Two states striking a deal over COVID quarantine. Victoria and Tasmania swapping isolation responsibilities, trading Australians returning from overseas for incoming seasonal workers.
And we're playing to our strength. High risk returning Australians from overseas is not what we are set up to do in Tasmania, albeit we can do it and we've done it well.
1,500 Pacific Island pickers will now fly into Tasmania, do 2 weeks quarantine here, then fly to Victoria to work. In return, 330 returning travellers will quarantine in Melbourne. With the Pacific Islands considered lower-risk jurisdictions, it's hoped the agreement will be a better sell to Tasmanians, easing anxieties in the community.
Obviously, look, I don't have a tin ear to what's going on in the community, and there were some people that were quite anxious about those repat flights.
While Tasmania is once again open to most of the country, Brisbane and Sydney travellers scrambled to get last-minute flights as the borders reopened last night.
It was just really literally last night that the border got reopened and they came.
Changed my flight 3 times in the last 2 weeks. I was meant to be here last Friday, so it's a bit overwhelming.
We've tried 3 times to get down to Tassie in the past year, but haven't been able to get here, so 4th time lucky.
It's good to be back in the land of fresh air, away from all that, from the masks of Sydney.
From today, masks are also mandatory in all Tasmanian airports, and while it might take some getting used to, authorities say it adds an extra and necessary layer of protection for travellers.
Learn that it's just sensible in this environment to have a mask, to buy it from the pharmacy or other sources, have it with you, know that you have to have it to fly.
Police handing out masks to those who didn't bring their own.
At the moment, we are handing out masks, not fines.
And with more people coming back into the state, regional tourism is beginning to bounce back. The Watamana Power Station heritage site once again opening its doors after closing last year.
We've had a massive increase in absolute numbers in terms of Tasmanians visiting, and as you might expect, the number of interstate visitors has diminished.
We haven't had many interstate visitors since probably October. I think we opened up, or end of October. So the interstate visitors are slowly coming back.
Just one of thousands of businesses finally seeing the benefit of a border reopening. Meg Sides, 7 Tasmania News.
More than half of Tasmania's prisoners returned to jail 2 years after release, according to damning new data. Risdon Prison has been labelled a human warehouse, with inmates spending most of their time in cells with few chances at rehabilitation.
Tasmania's prisons go from bad to worse. A new Productivity Commission report reveals the grim reality of life behind bars.
What we see from this report is that correctional officers, they're most likely to be seriously assaulted in Australia, and that's incredibly concerning. This is a job where the threat of violence is incredibly real. Inmates spend an average of just 7 hours outside their cell. Too few staff means rolling lockdowns, and a shocking 57% of released inmates return to jail after 2 years.
The government needs to act on housing, because one of the major reasons for the increase in the number of prisoners is people cannot get housing and so therefore cannot get bail, or they cannot get parole.
There's also a push to reframe the crime and punishment debate.
There's no question that people need to be held responsible for crimes that they commit, but that needs to go hand in hand with real opportunities to rehabilitate your life.
Only 19% of prisoners are engaged in education or training. The Minister says he's focused on seeing more inmates take up TAFE.
There are some challenging areas, but certainly this is an area we are investing in. This is an area that we are reforming in as well.
The government is also pushing ahead with a new northern prison. It's unclear if Labor would build a new facility. Sean McComish, 7 Tasmania News.
Partygoers are tonight trickling through the gates as Foma officially kicks off in Hobart. Our reporter Sean McComish is at Mona and joins us live now. Good evening, Sean. What can people expect this weekend?
Good evening, Louise. Well, everything from music to giant puppets. As you can probably hear behind me, the first band is taken to the stage as part of the MOFO sessions. Organisers spent the day setting up for the performances, which go for 3 days. This weekend marks the start of the broader festival in Hobart after last week's run in Launceston. Now, not all the action will be here at Mona. Art and shows are being held across the city. The MOFO sessions, though, which are mainly music, are sold out, but there is a glimmer of hope for the unlucky.
The events are all sold out, but we are releasing a handful of tickets across all the days due to some late refunds from interstaters that can't make it due to border closures. So, yeah, we encourage people to jump online and check because there might be the chance to come along.
There is a sense of relief and pride from organisers who've managed to pull off one of the few major festivals in the country this summer. Now, today also marks the 10th anniversary of Mona opening to the public. I'm sure they'll find an interesting way to celebrate. Louise?
Free training for disability support workers is set to be funded by the state government. A $2 million boost to the Job Trainer scheme in Tasmania will see an additional 415 training places offered to those looking to gain qualifications in the industry.
It's vital, and it's meaning that we're able to increase the workforce where it's needed. There's demand across the state for skilled workforce.
It allows us as an organisation to upskill our staff, to make a commitment to staff development.
The disability sector is one of the highest growing areas of employment in Australia. Disability support service Devonfield is ready to hand over the keys to 4 new homes in Sprayton. For many of the residents, each living with disabilities, it will be their first taste of independent living.
Unlocking the door to a new home. The final touches have been completed on these purpose-built homes for people living with disabilities. Sandra Heald is preparing to move in and looking forward to making her favourite meal in the kitchen.
Cake.
And with modern appliances, cooking up a storm will be easy.
Kitchen dishwasher. Don't wash up.
Michael McGurk and Andrea Hansen are excited to move into their new home before the next AFL season begins. The couple plan to cheer on their team in blue and yellow colours from the comfort of their lounge room.
Football, yeah.
Who do you go for?
Cove.
For many of the residents, it'll be their first time living independently and a level of luxury above their previous accommodation.
The style of accommodation historically that's been provided, whilst adequate, was not the perfect solution. And NDIS has driven many of these things, so we operate within the guidance of NDIS provisions.
The 3-bedroom units have been built to meet the needs of those living in them. All are wheelchair accessible and have light switches and appliances installed at lower levels. Tenants are moving in from next week and plans are underway to build another 8 homes. Elizabeth O'Neill, 7 Tasmania News.
A small marsupial unique to Tasmania is the focus of a new conservation program in Hobart. The community is being asked to help save the endangered eastern barred bandicoot by logging their own sightings of the animal.
Ridgeway resident Susan Drake has a lot of late-night visitors to her property.
I can hear them squeaking when I'm sleeping or when I'm awake in bed.
Eastern barred bandicoots leaving several clues they've been coming. They're only found in Tasmania, particularly the wetter areas, including gardens that neighbour bushland.
We can see the holes, so we've been looking around at some holes today just to show you, and it's quite easy to find them. They're close to the house and areas tend to be in clusters.
The Backyard Bandicoots program is looking to help the endangered animals survive. They're asking residents to use the iNaturalist app and aid a research project studying their habits.
And all you need to do is actually just take a photo of what you're seeing, and then it records everything else for you, date, time, your location, and then that ID is then verified to know that it is an eastern barred bandicoot.
We can get 100 times the amount of data by getting people to record what they're seeing on their properties or in their local area.
Locals are also being asked to help keep the animals safe by containing dogs and cats at night. This unique creature worth saving.
They're threatened, and we really it's very special to have them here.
Josh Duggan, 7 Tasmania News.
Engines are warming up and excitement is building at Symmons Plains ahead of the inaugural Race Tasmania event, which begins this weekend. For the latest, let's go live now to our reporter Garth Burley. Good evening, Garth. This is the first major competition for a very long time.
Yes, Louise, for many drivers it's been more than a year after most of the 2020 racing season was cancelled due to the coronavirus situation. I'm currently standing in pit lane, an empty pit lane, but come Sunday it'll be teeming with cars, drivers and support staff. There's racing royalty on the bill. There's drivers such as Lee Holdsworth and Bathurst 1000 winner Chaz Mostert. And today we're given a sneak peek of what to expect. The glory days are well behind this O2 Holden Monaro.
2003 it won the Bathurst 24 hour and in 2004 it came second to the other red Monaro that Peter Brock used to drive.
But it still possesses its muscle memory.
When it's running right it'd be about 240, 250 down the back straight.
Cutting through the air of Symmons Plains. Giving the course its first proper workout ahead of Sunday's return to racing. Close to 20 races across 7 classes scheduled over the 3-day spectacle.
It's non-stop action, you know, one race will finish, another will come out, there'll be no standing around.
Everything from TCRs to the S5000, Australia's version of a Formula One car that can trigger speeds faster than a V8 supercar.
Yeah, they're a fair bit different to the supercar, obviously a lot less weight, but they're still a heavy V8 open wheeler.
18-year-old Nathan Hearn started racing go-karts when he was 6. In a matter of days, he'll be behind the wheel of this beast.
It may sound a bit weird, but it's a dream come true to travel around Australia and race cars.
Fans in Launceston basking in their presence and the fact motorsport is roaring back into the region.
For years, we've always believed motorsport should be in Tasmania in summer. You know, the fans are the most passionate motorsport fans in the country.
And you'd imagine many of those fans will be trackside here on Sunday. And one of the drivers they'll be here to see is this man. Oh, name? Would you be able to say name?
James Moffat.
James Moffat. Now, you've had an illustrious history. Tell us a bit about how you're feeling being back racing after such a long time out.
Yeah, well, 2020 was a tough year for a lot of people, and that's behind us now. We're here for the Boost Mobile Race Tasmania event down here at Symmons Plains over the Australia Day weekend. So racing Monday and Tuesday, a lot of work has gone in behind the scenes to make it all possible. So Symmons Plains always produces great racing. So if anybody out there is thinking what they're going to do on Tuesday for Australia Day, get down to Symmons Plains and see some great racing action.
Now, we've heard how challenging this course is in the notorious hairpin. Tell us what makes it so hard.
Well, it's unique to Australian motorsport. It's a 180-degree hairpin, and it's always provided a lot of action over the years. It's a tremendous passing opportunity, but also we've seen a few bingles there across the years. So hopefully none of that this weekend. Plenty of passing and some great racing. Also the opportunity to see the outright lap record broken here at Symmons Plains with Australia's fastest open-wheel race cars, the S5000s, competing alongside the TCR Australia Championship that's brought to you by Super Cheap Auto for the next 5 years.
So there you have it, straight from the horse's mouth, the lap record here that hasn't been broken for 40 years, expected to be under threat this weekend. Back to you, Louise.
Certainly looks like some pretty tough competition. Thanks for that, Garth Burley there. The Hurricanes have ripped through the Perth Scorchers top order in their Crunch BBL 10 match tonight. 4 wickets fell in the first 10 overs. However, some big hitting from Perth still got them to a total of 8 for 179. Nathan Ellis took 4 wickets for 34 runs, as he was the pick of the Hurricanes bowlers. The Hurricanes have lost wickets early in their run chase too, though, sitting at 4 for 98 after the first 12 overs. A short time ago, Darcy Short remained in on 42 off 35 balls. A Tasmanian athlete primed for this year's Tokyo Olympic Games says he's preparing to train in Spain in a bid to win a medal. Jake Birtwistle is excited for his first race in more than a year here on Tassie soil.
The Noosa Triathlon 2019, a day Jake Birtwistle won't forget.
And he takes the win in 2019 and he does it in convincing fashion.
It was also his last race. That was 15 months ago. Usually he would compete in as many as 10 every year.
2020, obviously, I had 0. Which is pretty unusual.
The biggest on the casualty list, the Tokyo Olympic Games, now moved to the middle of this year. An official place in the squad is merely a formality, meaning the 26-year-old's lifetime dream has almost arrived.
I kind of recognised that was going to be the Games where I'd be at an appropriate kind of age to do well in the triathlon.
At summer's end, he plans to meet up with a dozen international athletes in Spain, a location currently where COVID cases are soaring, but risk enough, he says, to strive for a place on the podium.
I want to get the best out of myself, and that's simply just going to come from training with my training partners and being with my coach again.
The Tasmanian has pushed his body to the limits, training for months, but his focus will shift this weekend to the Greens Beach Triathlon, the start of his journey towards the July Games.
Will be a good opportunity anyway, and a nice, fun hit out for me to kind of see where I'm at in this kind of building phase of the training period.
Garth Burley, 7 Tasmania News.
Voting has opened for entrance to the All-Star Mile, with 2 Tasmanian horses featuring prominently amongst the 83 candidates. Still a Star, trained by Bill Ryan, currently sits in 6th place. Meanwhile, Mystic Journey, who won the event 2 years ago, sits in 17th place. The race's final starts list of 10 entrants are decided by popular vote, closing next month. And for tonight's Friday Flashback, we're looking back to Sky Race in 1995, when arguably the greatest pilot of all time wowed the crowd. American fighter pilot Bob Hoover was the star of the skies over Valleyfield, where races reaches some serious speed.
The traffic getting into Sky Race was slow. It couldn't have been more different in the air. Of course, only one person could upstage those eye-watering speeds.
By a man who is considered by his peers as the pilot's pilot. His name is Robert A. Bob Hoover.
The American World War II ace, who escaped a prisoner of war camp after stealing a German plane, showed a small dose of that bravery above Valleyfield near Epping Forest.
Yes, I think this is a good publicity, very favourable, and people are creating interest. They're accepting the challenge of being here, and they're all pretty excited about it.
Hoover admired aerobatics. The crowd admired him. Likewise, the hundreds of Sky Race aircraft competing in 1995. Top of the tree, Melbourne's Mike Falls, winning the Radial 600 class. What a shame his time in the sun was cut short.
And here come the roulettes. I hate those guys, they're just too damn good.
Also good, 13-time national aerobatics champion Chris Baru.
I go to a lot of air shows, but I like this concept, and the venue is beautiful.
And we can't leave out this nifty camera work from the country club and the death-defying Red Berets parachuting to the ground in a promo for the 95 event, one which was a human magnet for the Northern Midlands.
We got, we think, around about between 7,000 and 10,000 yesterday, and we feel today that the crowd could quite easily double that.
Tom Johnson, 7 Tasmanian News.
Good evening and happy Friday to you. Launceston and Friendly Beach is our top today with 28 degrees, Hobart 22, Burnie 25 and Devonport 27. Temperatures over the northeast above average but below average in the west. St Helens 27, Grove, Bushy Park, Smithton and Flinders Island 22, Strawn and King Island 20, Lyre-Weenie 17 today. Mid to high level cloud did cross the south and west of the state, mostly sunny for the north and east of Tasmania. A long band of cloud extends from south of WA eastwards past Tasmania. A tropical low is off northern WA, thunderstorms scattered across the mainland. Tomorrow a weak ridge sits over Bass Strait. Troughs remain active over the far north and northwest of the country. West to southwesterly winds turning northwesterly later in the day. Stronger winds over the south with a 5-metre swell. A strong wind warning has been issued for waters between Tasman Island and Low Rocky Point. Hobart for Saturday, mostly sunny and 25, 23 for Medina, partly cloudy for Oatlands, 26 the maximum. Launceston up to 27 and sunny, Devonport fine and 24, 23 for Lyre-Weenie. Burnie expecting 24 and partly cloudy, maybe a morning shower for Strawn, nipping off early, 21 the top and 20 the high for Marrawar, and 26 for St Helens and sunny, partly cloudy for Swansea, 25 there and also at Orford. UV reaching 12 tomorrow, the highest this week. On Sunday, fine and partly cloudy and locally hot inland, light winds, Launceston 30 degrees. Hot to very hot by our standards on Australia Day Eve. Showers developing later along with thunderstorms. Swansea 35 and Hobart 34. Hobart though just 21 on Tuesday as winds shift southwesterly, heralding a few showers. Humid and sunny in Perth. I hope Adelaide's power providers are ready for near 40 degree heat there. Sunny weather over Melbourne, Canberra and Sydney. Partly cloudy for Brisbane. Partly cloudy at the moment as well, 21 in Hobart, 24 right now in Launceston, cloudy in Devonport and 22. And Louise, that's all the weather for now for this Friday. I'll catch you sometime next week.
I'll see you Monday. Thanks for that, Murph. And that's the news for this evening. I'll be back later with updates. Thanks so much for joining us. Good night.